The movie begins with Ralph and Vanellope enjoying their beer inside the Tapper game at the arcade. They talk about the pros and cons of their life being in-game characters at the Litwick arcade. Ralph is super happy about his life. Working as a part of the arcade game during the day and playing other games after the workday is over. He loves doing the same thing every day, again and again. Analog, on the other hand, feels dissatisfied. She wonders what is beyond her game. Sugar Rush, she wants to try new things and explore more games, as the ones at the arcade have become very predictable for her. She feels bored and unexcited. Ralph highlights the good parts of living a predictable life, while Vanellope hopes for more. The next day, while they get ready for the arcade to open, Vanellope notices that the power strip is signaling, which means the game central station has a new plug-in. Vanellope is excited that a new game is being added to the arcade, but when Litwick plugs in a new device, it turns out to be an internet router. Vanellope is disappointed. The surge protector puts up a no trespassing tape around it and sends everyone away. The arcade opens, and so everyone is asked to return to their games. Vanellope heads back to Sugar Rush. As a little girl starts playing the game in the arcade, she chooses Vanellope as her virtual avatar. The race begins as Vanellope and the other racers start racing. They all are very competitive and race each other. As the game proceeds, Ralph wants to surprise Vanellope, and so decides to add changes to her track. As Vanellope easily outpaces the other players, she takes control of the wheel and hurriedly gets to the first position in the race. The arcade player is happy and tells her friend that she loves it when Vanellope glitches, as that means they will win. Every time Vanellope takes control of the wheel, the players assume it's a glitch in the game, when suddenly a new track opens up. She realizes it's a new track created by Ralph. Happily, she jumps onto the new track. The player is surprised and wonders about the new track. She also gets worried about losing the game, as Vanellope has taken control of the wheel, and no matter what the player does, she cannot turn the car back on its original track. She pulls at the steering trying to gain back control. The player and Vanellope get into a tussle for control, and the steering on the game console breaks, ending the game abruptly. The player apologetically informs Litwick about the broken steering. He says not to worry as he would replace it. He checks online and finds out the machine is out of production, and so they no longer can make the parts. The player looks up on eBay and finds out that there is one steering available, but as it is the only one available, it is way too expensive. Hearing this, Litwick decides to close off the Sugar Rush game, as he cannot afford to buy the wheel. As the game is closed off, all the characters in it lose their homes. The crazily competitive racers are left without a home. Vanellope feels guilty and is very upset. Ralph too blames himself for it. The other characters in the game station decide to pitch in and sort of adopt the various characters. Most of the side characters are easily adopted, but nobody is willing to take on a competitive bunch of racers, as they keep on fighting and are generally obnoxious. Finally, Felix and Calhoun decide to adopt them as they want to have a family. Seeing Vanellope so sad, Ralph tries to find ways to make her smile, but she asks him to leave her alone for some time. Ralph is scared and worried. He waits for her at the Tapper, but she does not show up. Instead, Felix comes in tired from taking care of the racing girls. He tells Ralph that he will cover for him and he should go and get the wheel for Vanellope. Ralph seeks out Vanellope and tells her they are going to go inside the internet and find the wheel on eBay. Vanellope gets super excited and they both go to the Wi-Fi plug, and they mislead the surge protector and send him on a fool's errand to get inside the terminal. As they walk in, they see it is a bland place. But suddenly, the buttons start to light up as Liquid starts using the internet. On his computer, his virtual persona is surfing through the web, and Ralph and Vanellope follow him. As they enter the internet realm, they are stupefied by what they see. They are looking at a personified version of the World Wide Web. As they look around in fascination, Litwick goes off to whatever he was searching for. Vanellope and Ralph get off the Glide, a transparent cube-like vehicle that brought them there. As they try to make sense of the magical place they seem to be in, they spot a counter-like area called the nosamower.com, a personified search engine bar. As they go to the search bar, the man running it is Mr. Knowsmore. He tries to predict their search based on its algorithm, but is unable to guess Vanellope. Finally asks him to look up the Sugar Rush steering wheel on eBay. He directs them to eBay. They set off on a Glide Cube to eBay. On the way, they come across various internet pop-ups, mostly spam. After arriving at the eBay website, they notice the wheel is up for an auction and people are bidding on it. Ralph thinks it is a numbers game and outbids the others, and finally wins the wheel. When they go to collect the wheel from the auctioneer, she asks them to pay up $28,001. That's when they realize the bidding was for actual money. They make excuses and tell her that they don't have the money. She gives them 8 hours to pay up, and in case they fail to do so, she warns them that the sale will be canceled and the wheel will be put up for auction again. Vanellope and Ralph look for ways to earn money when they are reminded of a pop-up they saw while they were on the way to eBay. They go back looking for it and they find it. The pop-up personified and called Spamley shows up. They ask him if he can help them earn money by playing games. Spamley shares with them a few bounty hunting games. He explains that they need to find the objects that are part of different games, and then they can sell those objects to earn money. But most of the objects he shows them are lowly priced, and they would need to find a lot of them, which would take a lot of time. They ask Spamley if there was anything that would get them the money faster. He shows them a car that belongs to a racing character called Shank. The racing game she is a character of is called Slaughter Race. He tells them that if they can get Shank's car, the reward money for it would be $40,000, much more than what they need. Vanellope and Ralph leave for the slaughter race. They witness the game and realize it is a no-rules, no-track game where the competition is fierce. They watch as two dedicated online game players, who have been playing the game for a number of hours, and have finally reached Shank's car. Just as they are about to steal it, Shank and her team manage to defeat them and force them to start all over again. Ralph is horrified, as it is a game with no rules and no set track. He feels it is too dangerous, and they should hurry out of there as soon as possible. But Vanellope is super excited. She loves the game and wants to be a part of it. To get to Shank's car, they come up with a plan where Ralph distracts Shank and her team, while Vanellope steals the car. Vanellope manages to get the car, and she and Ralph drive off with Shank and the team chasing them. Vanellope has the time of her life, racing the car at breakneck speed while Ralph holds on for dear life. Shank and Vanellope go head-to-head in the chase. Suddenly a truck comes onto the road, and Vanellope skids to a stop. Shank and others catch up to her. Vanellope and Ralph explain their predicament to Shank, who is impressed by Vanellope's driving and decides to help them. She tells them that they can earn money by making viral content. She shoots a video of an unsuspecting Ralph reacting to the strong wind blowing in his face and posts it online. She asks them to go to a friend of hers, Yes, who is the head of the algorithm at BuzzTube, a video sharing site. Ralph and Vanellope go to BuzzTube. They meet Yes, who ignores them at first, but later, when her secretary reminds her that Ralph's video was trending, gets excited to work with them. They tell her that Shank sent them, and that they need to make enough money to get the wheel and head back home. She agrees to help them. But just then some other video takes up Ralph's spot. She tells them that to keep on trending, they need to make more videos. Ralph is ready to do whatever takes, and so Yes and her secretary look up trending content to see what was most watched. They ask Ralph to make videos on those trending topics. The internet goes abuzz with Ralph's video. Everywhere in the human world, people start sharing his videos. They remember him from his game Wreck-It Ralph, and start liking and sharing it. Yes also sends out pop UPS to lure more people into liking the videos. Vanellope asks her to send her out as a pop-up too, as she wants to help. Yes decides to send her to Slaughter Race, but Ralph tells her not to do so and to send her to an easy, safe location. Yes sends her to DisneyWorld.com. She also gives Ralph and Vanellope hologram devices, which can help them stay in touch with each other. In DisneyWorld.com, Vanellope tries to lure people into clicking on the pop UPS of Ralph's videos. She is caught by the antivirus for being an unauthorized pop-up. To escape, she runs and lands in a room full of Disney princesses. All the princesses surround her, ready to attack the unknown element to enter their domain. Vanellope tells them she too is a princess. They are suspicious, so they ask her questions. Rapunzel asks her if she has magic hair, while Elsa asks her if she has magic hands. Since she has neither, they ask more questions. Finally, when Rapunzel asks her if the world believes all her problems would be solved by a big, strong man who will rescue her, Vanellope vehemently agrees and shows her anger at the thought. They all accept her as a princess and sigh in mutual disgust at the world's opinion. Antelope goes ahead to explain to them her situation. She tells them about Ralph and how they were there to find her steering wheel so she could go back. The princesses get fascinated by her sweatshirt and pants and want to wear the same. They all get into their PJs and lounge around talking. They ask her if she has a song. Vanellope is puzzled. They explain that they always have a song to describe what they want, what they truly want, like their dream. Vanellope tries to sing, but is terrible at it. On the other side, Ralph is busy creating content videos, and he is getting closer to their goal. Yes shows him that he is still short of his goal, so he finally decides to make a B pun, which gets him the required traction. He goes looking for Vanellope as she has been incommunicado. Vanellope, on the other hand, finally finds her song and her dream. It is in the Slaughter Race. She wants to be there and not return to the sugar rush, but she is worried that Ralph will be upset, and so she is worried about his reaction. Ralph goes looking for her. He tries to contact her via their hologram device, but she does not respond. Spamley finds him looking for Vanellope. Ralph retries calling her. The holo call goes through, but Ralph is muted, so she cannot hear him. But he can hear her. He finds her at the Slaughter Race. She and Shank are sitting and chatting. He gets jealous when he overhears Vanellope telling Shank that she does not wish to go back. She says that Slaughter Race feels like home to her, and since the minute she stepped in it, she wanted to become a part of it, but she is afraid that Ralph would not understand that. She explains that Ralph loves living the same life every day, but she is bored of it. She loves adventures, and the Slaughter Race is giving her that, but she is too worried about Ralph to tell him this. Shank tells her that friends do not need to have the same dream, but she must talk to Ralph about it. Hearing this conversation, Ralph gets extremely upset and panicked at the thought of losing Vanellope. Spamley, who is with Ralph, hears this too. He sympathizes with Ralph. Ralph tells him he is worried about Vanellope, and so he is going to get her and leave. Spamley asks him to take a moment and think about it before reacting. Ralph then remembers a game at the arcade, which slowed down because it was infected by a virus. Vanellope used to enjoy the game, but when it slowed down she got bored of it, and so he feels if he can do the same to Slaughter Race, somehow make it boring, Vanellope would return with him. He asks family to help him get a virus. Spamley takes Ralph to the dark where they meet a shady character who gives them an insecurity virus. The man explains the virus latches onto the game's insecure aspect and transfers it to other parts of the game, making it boring. He warns them not to let the virus escape the Slaughter Race, or else it would break the whole internet. Ralph confirms with him that the virus won't hurt anyone. He emphasizes that he only needs to slow the game down and not hurt anyone, just make it boring. The man tells him it would do that for sure. In the Slaughter Race, Vanellope joins Shank and others in the next round of the race. She is having the time of her life, driving super fast and practicing various drifting moves. She and Shank are having a good time, unaware of the fact that Ralph has let loose the virus in the game. As she drives at full speed, dodging a player, she is distracted by a shadow of a huge person. She mistakes it for Ralph and jerks to a stop. She feels guilty about hiding from him, and that creates an insecurity within her about his reaction, and their relationship. Her glitch becomes more pronounced. The virus latches, observing this, finds her glitch a vulnerability and latches onto it. It duplicates the glitch and transfers it to the entire game. The game starts to collapse. Ralph panics as he realizes that the game is falling apart, and if it shuts down, any alien element like Vanellope would cease to exist, as her code was not fed into the system, and so she cannot be rebooted if the system shuts down. He rushes in to save Vanellope, but is unable to get in. Inside the game, Vanellope and Shank realize that the issues are a result of Vanellope's glitch. Shank tells Vanellope that the glitch will be resolved with a reboot of the game. She says more than the game, it's Vanellope who is actually in danger and needs to get out before the shutdown happens, as she was not an official part of the game and would not survive a reboot. Shank drives at top speed to get Vanellope out of there. She manages to get her out at the last moment, just as the game shuts down. Outside, Vanellope spots Ralph waiting for her. She hugs him and breaks down, blaming herself for destroying the game. She clings to him and cries. She apologizes for dreaming and for not wanting to go back to Sugar Rush and for hoping to stay in the Slaughter Race. She feels her selfishness lead to the destruction of the game. Ralph feels guilty and confesses to her that it was his fault, as he planted the virus to slow down the game. Vanellope feels betrayed. They argue, and Ralph tells her that he would not have done so if not for overhearing her wish to not return. Vanellope is hurt more because he didn't trust her, and she calls him a bad friend. She snatches that "You're my hero" locket that she had made him as a gift and throws it into a ditch. She walks away from him. Ralph is hurt. He tries to stop her, telling her that she is his friend. She does not stop the virus peeping out from the hole in the game, finds Ralph's insecurities and latches onto them. Ralph goes down to collect the locket, while the virus spreads his insecurity throughout the internet, creating a hologram version of insecure Ralph. Ralph finds the locket, but it is broken in two. Vanellope is walking around when she spots Ralph. He is behaving awkwardly and is a dull shade of pink. She turns around and finds another Ralph. More and more Ralphs start chasing her as she makes a run for it. She looks around the web and finds hundreds of Ralph around her. A news bulletin explains that the internet is crashing as a Ralph virus, which is making devices deny services, has taken over the various Ralphs, create havoc in the World Wide Web. Looking for Vanellope in the real world, the internet goes down. She dashes across the internet. As an increasing group of hollow Ralphs follow her, she finally reaches the search bar and asks Mr. Knowsmore to help her find a way out. Mr. Knowsmore closes his search bar, and he and Vanellope hide behind the shutters as the hologram Ralph bangs on them. They try to think of ways to escape the hologram Ralphs. The real Ralph arrives and looks for Vanellope. He is worried about her. Nosmore gives grief for being needy and clingy, which has led to the situation. Ralph asks him to help as he has all the answers. Nosmore suggests that they need to find someone like a Pied Piper who could drag the hollow Ralphs away from them to the antivirus district. Ralph thinks of Yes and tells Vanellope that Yes would know how to help. They contact Yes, and together on her glide, they all fly towards the antivirus district on the web, with 1 million insecure Ralphs following them. Vanellope is upset at Ralph and shares it with Yes, who tells her that Ralph made a mistake, but he also did everything he could to help her get her steering wheel. Ralph and Vanellope lure the hollow Ralphs towards the antivirus district. Ralph tells Vanellope he can see how needy and pitiful he must have appeared to her. He apologizes to her and tells her he would understand if she doesn't want to be friends with him anymore. Vanellope corrects his misunderstanding. She tells him that she will never stop being his friend, but she is upset as he behaved like a bad friend. The million hollow Ralphs come together and become one big huge Ralph, Monster Ralphzilla. They chase their jet while destroying everything around them, literally breaking the internet. Ralph asks Yes to protect Vanellope and jumps off the glide to fight with Ralphzilla. He starts hitting it in his wrecked style. Yes manages to take Vanellope to safety, but she wants to help Ralph and runs back. Ralphzilla catches her aunt like King Kong, carries her on top of a building. The real Ralph comes to save her. He brings her to safety, but is caught by the monster Ralph, who is squishing him. Vanellope calls out to Ralphzilla to let the real one go, and promises to be his friend forever in exchange. But the real Ralph, now realizing his mistake, scolds the Ralphzilla and explains that one cannot own a friend. They need to let her go be a real friend. He says they need to trust her, and no matter where she lives, she will always be our friend. As his insecurity ends, Ralphzilla calms down to ending the virus. But as Ralphzilla crumbles to pieces and disappears, Ralph, who was held in his arms, falls. Spamley tries to get him on his glide scooter, but due to his sheer size, he just falls through, making a hole in the scooter. As he falls hundreds of feet, the Disney princesses line up to save him. Moana raises a wall of water from a fountain, while Ariel jumps up on it and carries it high up. Elsa, flying with Jasmine on a magic carpet, freezes so he can slide down into a dress sling they make with parachutes. He glides down and Ariel sings, which makes him fall asleep. As he lands in the bed they have brought out, Ralph wakes up to find himself surrounded by all the princesses. They tell him they are friends of Vanellope and so are his friends too. Ralph thanks them later. Ralph tells Vanellope he is glad she found her dream game, and so can stay there. They promise to always be there for each other. Vanellope tells him that Shank had programmed her into the race, so she would be rebooted again if anything happens. He gives her half of the heart locket and keeps the other half for himself. They hug and Vanellope goes into the slaughter race. Back in the arcade, Sugar Rush is back in action as they have a new steering wheel. Felix and Calhoun have managed to calm the racers. Surge is shocked to see the little racers being friendly with each other instead of being the crazy, competitive characters they were before. Felix and Calhoun shared their parenting advice, but it is muted to keep it a secret. Ralph and Vanellope keep in touch via the holo device. Ralph promises to visit Vanellope when she has a day off.